Hello, I'm Jessica Kaley, and I am the author of the blog Building Self-Esteem for HealthyPlace. And today I want to talk about the value of building a good set of life goals and how that improves self-esteem. If you've been following my blog for the last few weeks, you know that I have been battling a pretty deep depression brought on by the isolation of the pandemic. So I first of all practiced self-love by meeting with my therapist and prioritizing the way I felt over everything else. I have no other commitments at this time. And then I practiced some bravery by going and getting my hair cut, which if you saw my last video, you know I really need it. So that made me feel a lot better too. And now I feel more ready than I did even 2 days ago to move forward, get back on the path that I was working on for my life journey of self-improvement and reaching my goals. And for me, getting back on track always means checking in with my life goals. I think that it's necessary to have a well-built set of goals to define your personal vision of success in order to live a happy and successful life. This is your way of defining what success looks like to you, and it supports your healthy self-esteem by valuing your individuality and your own needs and desires. So today I'm going to talk about how to get started on that project. So first, let's talk about what is a well-crafted goal. Most of you have probably heard about the term SMART goals. SMART is an acronym that stands for definitions of a well-crafted goal. But a few years ago, I learned a newer version called Smarter Goals, and that's what I'm going to share with you now. I first started learning about SMART goals back about 15 years ago when I was studying project management. Smarter goals makes me happy. First of all, the S is for specific. You're really going to nail down exactly what you're going to do. It has to be measurable. That's the M. It should be quantifiable in numbers in some way so that you know when you've reached it. You don't want to just say, I want to get better at this. You want something quantifiable, something measurable. The A stands for action-oriented. So there has to be a goal that you can work on, not something that you're just wishing will happen. It has to be action-oriented, actions that you can take. The R stands for relevant. The goal should be relevant to your life. And, setting a goal for world peace is all well and good, but there's not much you personally can do to make that happen. You can contribute to it, but you can't, it's not in your control. So it has to be relevant to your life. And then the T in SMARTER is time-bound. It means you're going to give it a due date, something, again, that ties back to the measurable part, which means that you know when you've got there. And then the ER that I learned only a few years ago that makes SMART goals, smarter goals. The E stands for ethical, which I love that idea. I mean, if your goal can include an action plan to kill somebody, right? And then the R, the last R, I've read two different definitions for that R. The first one is recorded, which I'm a big fan of because my memory is awful and I like to write things down and store them in a document somewhere on my computer. But the newer one that I found is reviewed regularly, which is also very important in my mind. And today I went and reviewed my set of goals, and I usually do that monthly. So that's the definition of a well-crafted goal. I learned about the value of life goals about 8 years ago when I took a fabulous course, which I've spoken about a lot in my blog. It really did change my life. And the course was on time management, but it talked about setting your goals as if you were looking back from the perspective of your deathbed. So you phrase the goal in a way that talks about what you've attained that made you happy and proud and feel successful. Rather than, I'm used to project management goal setting, which projects are short term and the goals could be mini goals. And I use plenty of those throughout my life. But when you're crafting your life goals, look back from your deathbed when you phrase them. Now, another thing that added to my own personal methodology of crafting life goals, I learned about 9 years ago when I hired a health coach to help me get serious about managing my diabetes. And it was the first time I ever had any experience with a coach. This woman specifically was a nutritional health coach. And it definitely started me on my path to become a certified life coach myself. But she introduced me to the circle of life, which I have also mentioned a lot. As a matter of fact, if you go back to my blog from March 2nd of 2020 of this year, you'll see a video that explains one of the exercises I use the circle of life for. It has 12 different areas that I feel are really important to look at in order to live a balanced life. Now, I took that circle of life, those 12 areas, and I crafted a life goal in each of those areas to make sure that I was addressing everything that would affect me, that I was aiming for a balanced life. So you can go back to that video from March 2nd, or you can just pause for a minute if you want to write this down, the 12 areas like relationships and spirituality and finances. Or you can Google the circle of life. There's many different pictures and they all have the same areas. So how do you start building this well-crafted set of life goals in each of the 12 areas? The bottom line is it's a lot of work. Honestly, I've been working on it now for about 5 or 6 years, and I still don't have all 12 of them honed to where I would like them, where I would say this is each one of those is a smarter goal. But the point is you can start anywhere. And the way I usually decide what to work on crafting goal-wise is based on the exercise that I did in March 2nd using the circle of life. It shows you what areas of life you're least satisfied with. For myself, I focus on health. I have type 1 diabetes. I have lung disease. I'm 62 years old, and I'm pretty. I've lost a lot of physical capability over the last decade since I moved south for a job, and lost my crew and my people, and I've been a little too solitary and inactive. So for me, I work on health, home cooking, which is one of the things that support my health, finances, which I think financial health is very, very important for removing stress and making sure that you're safe. and physical activity and home environment. Those are the ones that I've been working on the most. So, but it doesn't matter where you choose to start. Pick any of those areas in the circle of life and start working on crafting a smarter goal. So let me give you an example of a couple of my goals in those areas so that you can hear what a smarter goal can sound like. For example, for finances, my life goal from looking back from my deathbed is that I left no debts to my heirs while enjoying life every day of every year. Now, let's break that down. Leaving no debt is definitely measurable, okay? To me, all of these are time-bound because they end at the end of my life. So I really do feel like I have up until then to work on my life goals. And enjoying each day of life is not really specific, but I'm still working on that. But the leaving no debt is definitely measurable. My health goal is to live well into my 90s as a productive and active person, in spite of my type 1 diabetes and other medical issues. Now, living well into my 90s is measurable. Well into I'm not going to say I want to live to 96 or 94 or 97. It'll be whatever it is, but my goal is to get into my 90s. And that's all there. It's measurable, it's relevant, it is has all of the features of the smarter goals. So you get an idea of what I'm talking about when I talk about smarter life goals. So I want you to think about your life goals. These support building healthy self-esteem because they're your goals. They're not something that somebody told you you need to do or you should do. Should is my least favorite word in the language. And I want you to think about starting and spending some time, whatever works for you. I try to spend a couple of hours a month on my goals. I start out by doing the exercise from my March 2nd video with the Circle of Life to get a feel for what areas of my life are most out of balance. Then I revisit my life goals, which I keep in a document, and I see which ones I can make a little bit smarter and flesh out. And then it's on to the next steps. So what are the next steps? You don't have to wait till you have all 12 goals. As soon as you have one goal, you can get started. The first thing you do after your goal is defined is to do a gap analysis. That's a technical term from my software development project management days. You see where the end result is compared to where you are now. It takes bravery to look honestly at where you are now. And you do a gap analysis to figure out what some of the next milestones might be that will tell you that, yes, you are on the path to your goal, to achieving your goal. A milestone is a mini goal. That's another way to say it. So for example, for physical activity, where I said I want to be capable my whole life. I want to be self-reliant. I could barely walk when I started this journey. And my first milestone was to get myself to the gym 3 times a week for half an hour. And I did that and I got better at it. And little by little, I keep increasing my workouts. So I'm becoming more capable and more self-reliant. So that you do your gap analysis, then you define some milestones so that you know what the next steps are. And then you start working on building those habits. Tiny little changes each month after you do your assessment, after you do your review. Say, all right, this month I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z. And that's it. And if you do this on a regular basis, you will find yourself making progress. The important step is to check back regularly. So start by working on your goals, then do a little analysis and create some milestones that are reachable for you over the next few months, and keep coming back and reviewing them. I hope this is helpful to you. My self-esteem has risen today because I went back to review my own goals and I saw the tiny progresses I've made towards them. So all of those steps that I mentioned, taken together, the creating the goals, the recording them, and the reviewing them, those will help you build strong self-esteem. It's a very important part of taking care of yourself and showing yourself self-love. Pick goals, mini goals, the milestones, pick ones that are doable. Don't give yourself any excuse to beat yourself up on the head. Just get started and celebrate every little success, every milestone that you can check off. And that's it for today. I will be writing more and talking more about these goals throughout the blog when it hits me. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're happy and safe. And I'll talk to you again soon.